International.
Alberta's oil boom driving Canada's economy full steam ahead. But could environmental concerns put the cap on unprecedented growth and economic opportunity as we begin a week-long look at Canada's promised land? The devastating consequences of whiteout conditions on Ontario roads. How dangerous the drive home is tonight. And could your daughter's weight be pushing her into the world of sex and alcohol too early? A new study links childhood obesity to early puberty.
Canada's most watched national newscast. From Fort McMurray, here's Kevin Newman.
Hi there and welcome to Ground Zero in one of the most important changes to this country in recent history. Fort McMurray is at the center of a remarkable multi-billion-dollar oil boom, an industry now so powerful its impact is being felt on politics, culture, immigration, and of course the fight over global warming. Hello, I'm Kevin Newman and welcome to the Oil Sands Discovery Center here in Fort McMurray. It is a showcase for an industry where everything is big, the money, the opportunity, and of course the equipment. I'm standing in front of a massive dump truck that can carry tons of valuable oil-saturated sand in a single scoop. And tonight we are digging deep on many important issues behind what goes in your gas tank, and there is a lot of news to go with it. 2 weeks tonight, we will learn how the Harper government plans to handle the conflict between encouraging development of Fort McMurray's oil sands, which are also one of Canada's largest single sources of greenhouse gases. The big oil sand projects are located in northern Alberta outside of Fort McMurray. It's a huge area, so we decided the best way to see it was from the air.
You are looking at land which may contain a century of oil, a deposit to rival the reserves of Saudi Arabia. The problem is it's buried and surrounded by sand and rock, and this time of year a whole lot of snow. If you can get to it, this is what it looks like. It's kind of like a combination of putty and coffee grinds with the smell of oil. The trick is extracting the oil from the sand. That's why they call it Alberta's oil sands. Now, to get the oil out, you need to use a lot of water and a lot of natural gas to heat the water to create steam. That steam is then injected into the muck, which helps the sand sink and the oil rise to the surface. It's an expensive process, and the technology to do it efficiently is cutting edge and very costly. For example, one of those monster-sized dump trucks down there, it costs $5 million. So it takes about $10 a barrel to make oil this way, which is about 3 times what it takes the Saudis to make more conventional oil. So for much of the past 3 decades, this didn't make a lot of economic sense. But then look what happened. In 2003, you could sell a barrel of oil for $30 US. That price has been going up with each year. Now that $10 a barrel cost comes with a whole lot more profit. So suddenly the oil sands, which Canada has 81% of the world's known reserves of, are a viable source of oil, which has energy-hungry North Americans paying attention, particularly the U.S. Energy Department, which is concerned about the stability of some of America's other oil suppliers.
Other countries throughout the Middle East, or even in Latin America, sometimes have geopolitical reasons not to want to do business with the United States. So we do look to Canada as a friend to provide us with the energy that we need, and we want to be a good buyer.
Already, the oil sands are supplying 1 million barrels of oil a day, years ahead of projections. And this is only the beginning. By 2015, it's estimated more than 2.5 million barrels will be coming from here, and by 2030, 5 million. By way of comparison, Saudi Arabia produces an average of 10 million barrels a day today. So all Canadians stand to make billions of dollars in royalties. But at what cost? The technology used to get the oil out of the sand is responsible for the majority of the increase in greenhouse gases Canada is responsible for. So when politicians talk about not reaching the Kyoto targets, this development is a major reason why.
They're a very significant polluter. If you look at the top 10 greenhouse gas emitters in Canada, number 3 and number 4 are both tar sands operations.
Some hard decisions and difficult choices are about to be made. This is a major source of our children's prosperity for the future, but it is also having an impact on the climate they'll inherit.
Well, balancing oil development and global warming falls on the federal government, which, as we mentioned, is expected to announce some kind of oil sands policy in the budget 2 weeks from tonight. Will it end tax breaks to the oil industry or slap strict rules on production and consumption? Both scenarios are a very touchy subject for Albertans. So Alberta's premier reminding the feds today they already get a big portion of the oil revenue. So Ottawa may be trying to gauge the reaction to what it's planning to do, floating the ideas early. There's a leaked report tonight which says there are three main options it's considering. Making industries that are heavy polluters fund research on cutting emissions and developing cleaner fuel sources. Polluters could also be made to pay to clean up other aspects of the environment, like planting trees. That's called offset credits. And heavy polluters could be made to pay into a fund that would be given to industries that have managed to cut pollution. Well, the oil industry warns that too many restrictions may harm its willingness to invest here. And it says it's already trying to ease the environmental impact of what it does. Here's Francis Salvaggio.
When Syncrude completes this new $770 million sulfur scrubber in 2009, the oil sands giant tells Global National it will cut its sulfur emissions nearly 60%.
Today, our approved level of SO2 emissions is 245 tons a day. When we start up SERP, that will be dropped to 100 tons a day.
Most of the big oil sands companies can point to similar successes in dealing with air pollutants, water, even land reclamation. Greenhouse gases, though, not so much.
In the period 1990 to 2004, we were able to demonstrate a 14% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions on a per barrel basis.
That sounds good, but because the industry is producing more oil than ever before, environmental experts say total greenhouse gas emissions are actually on the rise.
With that focus on just increasing production, any of those incremental environmental benefits are being overridden by the sheer scale of development.
Even with proposed federal emission reductions, the increase in oil production could result in nearly a 250% increase in greenhouse gas emissions by 2020. That's why industry leaders are looking for alternative solutions today.
What it's going to really take is technology, and that's where things like carbon capture and storage, where you take these CO2 streams, inject them into old oil reservoirs to pressurize them again. The oil comes out, the CO2 gets recycled and put back in the ground. That's one example.
Imagine processing the bitumen from the
Imperial Oil is spending $15 million over the next 5 years, so Dr. Murray Gray's Research Institute at the University of Alberta can find new solutions.
We're going to be trying to lower the bar so that it's much easier to do environmentally sustainable processing of oil sands, so that it's possible to eliminate water use, so it's possible not to emit so much greenhouse gases.
Other companies like Syncrude are also increasing research funding for the same reasons.
We invest approximately $40 million a year in all areas of our business in terms of researching new technologies and improvement in the way we operate.
Through research, it may someday be possible for an oil sands plant like this to produce zero greenhouse gases. That technology, though, may still be years, if not decades away. The question is, will it be ready before it's too late? In Fort McMurray, this is Global National's Francis Salvaggio reporting.
We also have a polling snapshot this week of how Canadians feel about Alberta oil and the environment. With the help of Ipsos Reid, we asked if you would pay an extra 5 cents a litre for gas to help fund research for greener fuel alternatives. And Canadians are pretty much split down the middle on that. But when we asked, should Alberta have stricter emission standards even if it increases the cost of producing oil and gas, 68% of you agreed, 28% didn't. Quebecers are most in favor of stricter standards, while Albertans were least supportive. The gender difference also interesting here, close to 10% more women than men voting in favor. So what are Canadian